I remember when we got the call saying that they accepted us as a placement, we were really shocked, but also so excited because we live in such a rural area that whenever we said yes to placements before, they always picked somebody different because it was closer to where they wanted them to be. And so we probably said yes to half a dozen or so kids before we finally were told yes back. And so I know we were very excited to be able to finally get to serve and have a placement of our own. So.
I didn't realize that mattered.
It does, yeah.
Huh.
So Stratford is an hour and 20 minutes from Amarillo, and if parents are from Amarillo or from a closer area to Amarillo, they'll pick somewhere like Amarillo. But because placements are lacking, or there's just not enough foster homes, they finally picked us because they finally needed us. I remember getting a call from Jennifer asking what we might need for our little one, and it came pretty quickly within the next day or so. It just so happened that someone from our town was coming to Amarillo and was able to meet up with them, and so they used the resources, from our community in Amarillo, and it worked out. She asked specifically what kinds of things we needed, and for our little boy, he was very specific about the type of bottle that he wanted, and so I was even able to send her a picture of the nipple that he preferred, and she made it happen to where we had that specific bottle, and it was awesome. I mean, we were so grateful because when he came initially, he had a trash bag with things, and so it was great to have some luggage for him because we knew eventually he would most likely leave, and then he had something other than a trash bag to take with him, and then can't go wrong with diapers and wipes and clothes because the trash bag that he came with didn't have clothes in it. It had like some of his favorite like toys and things like that we weren't necessarily able to keep with him, but it was helpful for sure, especially since we live in such a rural place. We have a Dollar General, and then we have a small little grocery store, and so we're very limited on clothing options and things like that without having to drive 45 minutes to get something. So. He was pretty little, and so I don't know that there was anything specifically that stuck out to him, but for me, the bottle situation was it just meant a whole lot because a lot of times people bring you things, which is great, but it's not always things that you need, and so you have all of these extra things, but really you have the things that you actually need, and it was just it just felt so considerate, and it helped us feel like we were seen, like he was seen, and what he actually needed. And so for us, that's what stood out. Like I said, because we live in such a rural place, we would have had to get up and drive 45 minutes or so, which is not a huge deal, but the first few days of getting a placement are absolutely chaotic and crazy, and it just took part of that load off and made it to where we could truly focus on getting his immediate needs met, like doctor's appointments and just getting to know him, bonding with him, figuring out what he needs from us, and it allowed us to do that rather than have to feel like we had to be on the road back and forth buying this, that, and the other.
And from what I understand, it doesn't always come during business hours.
No, I think it was a Sunday night whenever we got placement of him, and it was 8 o'clock when they called, and so he got there probably 11 o'clock.
So even if you'd have been somewhere with a Walmart or something, you might not even have been able to get inside.
Right. Yeah. It did. It felt like, as foster parents, I don't feel like you always feel seen or considered when it comes to having placements and caring for the kids. And so it's a lot of work and it is, you give a lot of yourself emotionally, but also you give a lot of yourself financially too, to make sure that these kids have what they need. And that's not always thought about. I think whenever people think about what foster care is like, they think about the child, which they should, but it definitely just made it seem like we were just as important, and what we needed was supported, so that way we could give even more of ourselves to what we were supposed to be doing. Again, I think it just made us feel supported. Whenever you do foster care, it is not always a place that makes you feel seen or heard, or people don't get it. And so whenever you have somebody that understands what you're going through and is there to support you and says, I see you and I know what you need, let me help you in this way, whatever capacity that is, it was incredibly helpful. And it again took off a huge load, so then that was one less thing we had to worry about and allowed us more time to focus on our little boy. I'd want them to know that it is a huge help to foster parents, and it seems like it's not that big of a deal to go and take somebody some diapers, some formula, some bottles, whatever it is, but the impact that you're making on the family and on the child is something that you will not get to see necessarily long term, but it's something that sticks with those people. And as a foster parent who lives in a town where we have been the only foster family, it makes you feel a lot less lonely. And so I think this support from the Panhandle Orphan Care Network is huge, and it's not always seen long term, but even in that small capacity, what you do makes a huge difference. So if you're not able to foster yourself, or if you're not able to be a CASA worker or be a respite provider, but you're willing to help in this capacity, I feel like that's following what God wants from us. Well, he was only 6 months, and so he was kind of clueless. He didn't really know what was going on, and he was kind of stone cold for a little while after we got him, and so it was not, he didn't really seem to mind. He was just like, okay, cool.
They got the nipple that he wanted,
yeah,
so.
He ate great. Not that I necessarily know of. I did send all of those things, even the clothes, even though he outgrew them, I sent them with him whenever he left, because I feel like whenever kids move on, whether they go back home or they move to a relative or to an adopted placement, this is still a part of their life and their story, and they want to potentially feel connected to that later on when they are discovering more about their life story. And so for me, I felt like he would want to have those things. He may not remember getting them or playing with them or wearing them, but maybe later down the line he can have them and be able to connect a little bit with that. I think I just was so blown away at the fact that, first of all, that somebody had even told them that we had gotten a placement and that they were so quick to respond. But I just know that I was incredibly grateful to be thought of, but also that he was thought of, and that we were given all of these things that took such a load off of our shoulders. Oh gosh, we would have been just scrambling all over. Even from the time we got the call, my mom, whenever I called her, she had rushed out to go try to buy some formula because we didn't have any formula, and She just got what they had, and because we also didn't know if when he came, if he would come with any formula, because sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and so it would have been just chaos, even more than it already is, with appointments and visits and all of the things.
Especially at 6 months.
Yes, absolutely. I've known about the Panhandle Orphan Care Network for a while through my experience as a case manager and also as an investigator with CPS. I've seen the impact that it's had on foster families that I've worked with, on friends, other people that I've seen in the foster care community around the Panhandle. And so not only has it been cool to experience working with them on a personal level within my own home, but it's also been really neat to see how they have reached out and how they have made a difference in our foster care community in the Panhandle. I think people don't understand foster care at all in the first place, and so I've had to have talks about, they call you and you have the opportunity to say yes or no if you feel like you can serve that child, or not. And when you say yes, your heart is torn because you want to be able to serve and you want to be able to care for that child, but you're also so heartbroken for them that they have to experience the loss and the trauma of being removed from their family. And so while your adrenaline is going and you're thinking, oh my gosh, we're about to have a kid come, and you are excited to see what that looks like, you're also trying to experience the other side where you're thinking, oh my goodness, emotionally, what are they going to be like? What is this going to look like once they're here? And how can we love them through this? And so I think people say, I couldn't do this. I couldn't do this. And that's okay that you couldn't do that. But that's where organizations like this, they come through, and people who can't necessarily foster on their own, they step up and they support those who can. And so this is where it takes a village.
Right.
That's a tough question because I could talk about foster care all day, every day. And so I know people get, at least in my own world, sometimes I think they get tired of me talking about it because it's something that I feel so strongly about and so passionately about. But I have even said currently we're not fostering at this moment because when our last placement left, we were absolutely devastated, and we are still grieving that and still working through that. And so I've figured out if I can serve this community in a different way, whatever that looks like, I want to be a part of it. And so even though I cannot foster right now, being able to be a part of things like this or support in any other types of way with our welfare board in Stratford and things like that, there's a place for you. There's a place for people to come alongside these families even if they can't foster. And so that's where, for me, that's where I feel my calling is. I thought I'd always foster and I thought I'd always be a part of it in that capacity, but that God has had a different plan for us right now, and so we're going with the flow, and we're going to serve this ministry in a way that we can in this season of life.